Ready to rock, boss.
And on that note, welcome to episode number 45. Good face stretches there, Lars. Welcome to...
Oh, no, brown cow.
Another... We get the vocal... Yep. Oh, yeah. Welcome to another episode of the Unlocked Podcast. We are three business owners from across the entire globe, also centrally located on the North American continent. We have
the Western Hemisphere. I think that's right.
It doesn't necessarily matter, but we are.
Chad's not a geography wizard, so
it kind of looks. Sorry, Chad. Keep going. You're doing good there.
Yeah, I get distracted. But welcome to this conversation today around the uncomfortable truths that we discovered of entrepreneurship. But before we get into that, we do want to invite you to subscribe if you have not already. If you're listening to this and you're already 90 seconds into this podcast and have not subscribed, you are missing out, because we are three business owners in the lock and security business that have gone through a lot of challenges and seen some moderate successes over time, and then have had additional challenges. And so the conversation that we have on a weekly basis is to share those experiences with you, so you may be able to skip some of the bad ones and jump right to the good ones. And that's why we have the Unlocked Podcast. So my name is Chad Lingefeld. I am from Charlotte, North Carolina, a small little company called Loc-Doc Security. And one of the other gentlemen's on here with blonde hair that may introduce himself. I would say the guy in the middle, but he may not be in the middle right now. And then that'll cause an entire confusing conversation. So the guy in the blue shirt.
The blonde guy
with blonde hair,
with the blue shirt,
and an attempt at facial hair, whichever one of those wants to go. You can.
I honestly still don't know which one you're talking about.
Oh,
and if you came for the stand-up comedy, just wait. Chad takes the stage in 15 minutes.
There's more.
I'm Lars Johnson. I have a slightly bigger and better company than Chad in Calgary, Alberta, called Calgary Lock Safe. We have a different brand up in Edmonton, but this is Canada, so most of you will be confused by that, but it's actually a country that's just north of the US. And I say most of you, knowing that that's basically just talking to ourselves. But however, and then the other guy, what's his name again?
There was some guy that said he was from Australia.
Yeah,
I looked yesterday.
I didn't even know they had internet in Australia. I thought it was all dangos and kangaroos.
I looked yesterday at our YouTube. We actually have 73 subscribers, and I don't think they're all Lars. I was impressed.
No, because Lars doesn't watch YouTube videos.
Right.
Go ahead.
I am Tony Hoganson from Minneapolis, Minnesota, with Assured Security, and we are just the slightly better version of Canada. So, a little more polite, a little more friendly.
All right, moving on.
Yeah. So, we have some changes today. Lars has got a new update to his studio. It's looking slightly
installed.
Guys,
lights.
This is episode 45, and I learned this morning that I actually have a light above me.
That's about as fast as you usually learn.
And I haven't turned it on, but today you'll be able to see the glory of this salad. You know what it was? So the three of us were sitting, actually, it might have been on the podcast. Usually takes us a few minutes to get rolling, but we were going through the YouTube channel, and we could see my hair growing. Remember, we were going through that, and I looked at that, and I was like, my God, I haven't had a haircut. I only get my haircut when I go to North Carolina. So I cut a few hairs, and now I have one of these sporty mullets that's happening.
Yep.
And I obviously don't spend enough time looking at myself, because this looks ridiculous.
I mean, I'd hate to agree with you.
Oh, man. I look stupid. Is this how I always look?
Wow, he's really setting us up here.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
So, Lars, you may appreciate this. I was traveling this current week, actually, whatever week this is, and I saw an elk in person.
No
about 100.
Saul, but go ahead.
An elk in Saul. Yes. I visibly witnessed
SAW.
an elk about 150 yards from me.
Wow.
Okay.
Thing was massive. It literally looked like a horse.
I was going to make that same joke, but
an elk. You're surprised how big it was?
I've never seen an elk in person before.
They're on our quarters.
They're what?
They're on our quarters. This was a real stunner for the crowd.
Yeah, that was a Canadian quarter.
Anyway, yeah, they are. They're bigger than the horse.
Man,
bigger than some horses. They're about 1,500 pounds.
They're large.
And then with the big antler, man, that was massive.
Yeah,
that was impressive.
Did it bugle?
Do what?
Did it bugle? That's the noise they make.
Oh no! I just saw it just trotting across a fairway. Saw a bobcat as well. That was kind of a little smaller. Yeah, but kind of frightening. And some folks saw a bear, black bear, but and this was all on a golf course, by the way, not at the zoo, where Tony likes to spend his time. Tony, how's the zoo in Minnesota?
It's good. I haven't been since the last time I ran off to the zoo, and it's fine.
You haven't been since the last time you were there. It's riveting content, Tony. Thank you for that insight. You're not the best in the game for nothing.
Yep, that's what I'm here for.
Well, we've got a lot of stuff coming. I mean, we're recording this in almost, I guess we're the beginning of August, somewhere close to middle of August. I'm actually getting on an airplane tomorrow morning and flying down to Aloha. So by the time this podcast airs,
is that Hawaii?
Yeah, Aloha. By the time this podcast airs, I will have already been there, and maybe we'll talk about it on the next episode. We're going to check that out. Hey, Tony, have you been to Aloha before?
Yeah, handful of times.
How many? Handful of times.
I don't know, 10.
And when's the last speaking
time?
Out at Chat, or what are you doing down there?
No, I'm just actually going to check it out and see what it's all about. Because the last time I went was 17 years ago.
I went a lot when I was younger, oddly. Like I would go and take classes, learn how to be a locksmith. I think my dad actually just brought me along to play in the golf tournament. Actually, somewhere along the way I had my name on some Aloha plaque for a golf tournament. But
humble brag.
Yeah.
Whoa. The arrogance here. Let's rename the podcast The Tony
Hold on
Show.
a second. Do they still have a golf tournament?
No, my dad actually and John Patterson and two other, John Hubbard and Reggie Moxley, ran a golf tournament for like 20 years. It was the Aloha Open. And it is no longer around. I think it ended about 10 years ago or so. But they had this tournament every year and a huge, nice plaque, and they raised money for the Aloha Foundation, and it was a fun little tournament.
What does Aloha stand for? It's American
Associated Locksmiths of America.
Aloha. Yeah. So the word "of" gets an O?
Yes.
In the acronym?
Associated Locksmiths of America. Aloha.
Well, it would be worse if it was just Allah.
Allah. Uh-oh.
Anyway, so yes, I have been to a handful of shows, mainly when I was younger. I think the last one I was at was in Chicago in like 2019.
Okay. So yeah, significantly younger, 6 years ago.
No, like I went when I in 2006.
Oh, okay. Yeah, the last time I went was 2008.
Okay.
It was in Charlotte. So that's why I went.
Convenient.
Well, that'll be exciting, Chad. You can tell us how it is.
Yep.
Are the Associated Locksmiths of America
associated?
Is it America's, or is it like only America?
I thought it was
Canadians
more. Don't they have like an international element of it?
Yeah, I think it's North America. But,
yeah,
but that'd be Alona.
Alona.
This is riveting as usual.
So I'll find out more about it.
It's free, so I mean,
there's a lot of education down there, but I'm going to the trade show on Friday.
We've sent a couple techs to classes. There's a lot of good classes. I know that we've sent a tech to their Aloha headquarters and also to the conferences to learn. And we send techs quite a bit to the SAVDA classes, which is put on by Aloha Safe and Vault Technicians Association.
We love our acronyms in the industry. So, well, let's get into the conversation today. So, I guess a little more description around uncomfortable truth of entrepreneurship. So I was processing this a couple of weeks ago in like the things that as you started growing a business, or I mean, all of us came in at different stages of business development, but as we started trying to actually grow a company, maybe it was just me. So maybe this is a really dead topic, but there were some things maybe that you thought to be true, and then things that were kind of surprises, or, I didn't realize that was going to be something that I needed to know.
Did I just sign up for this?
Yeah. And kind of learn. And the reason that I wanted to bring it up, because I like to give a background around it, is I think a lot of times we have and maybe employees or in management or whatever, you have a concept of, man, it must be nice, or man, I would like to work towards this. And then when you get to that point, you go, oh, here are these other soft skills or elements that I needed to learn that I was not prepared to learn or had no idea that I needed to know as I started to develop this. So that's kind of the reason around it, because I was thinking we have a lot of people that are listening to this podcast that are at various stages of business growth, business development, and maybe they're an expert in the technical field. Maybe they're a great practitioner around like we were just talking about, going to a LOA, getting training on the technical side. But when you now have employees and you have larger projects and you've got receivables and all these other things that you're dealing with, what are those other surprises that you realized after the fact that you had to either become an expert in or had to be knowledgeable in those areas that you were not expecting when it came to the industry that you were a part of from an ownership perspective?
Is this like tips and tricks to be a successful entrepreneur?
No, I don't think so.
I'm a little confused by
I hate the term tips and tricks.
I know,
we've done like 4 episodes.
I'm just trying to get some context
tip and
here.
a good trick.
I'm just trying to get some context here because I'm confused by the topic.
Okay, so
Tony,
I'll give you an example.
Do you have any crayons? Because maybe we could draw this out for Tony.
I do have my notepad here. I'll give you an example. So here's one of mine. I was not prepared or had any context at all that I needed to be aware of personality and psychology with humans. Right. So growing a business, like being like an owner of an organization or a manager at any point, I had no clue whatsoever. There was nothing that I had heard or read or experienced before that gave me any inclination that I needed to understand how people worked, like what motivated them, what frustrated them, all those types of things. So be a more knowledgeable individual on how people function.
Right. When you get into it, you put a lot of stock in what people say. Right? Oh, they say, they said he was happy. He said he was happy. Well, he's happy.
Yeah.
But that is about 10% of the time. What people are saying really have little impact. Now, I know we can dive into the whole culture index issue or platform again, but I'll try and stay away from that. But it's I would agree that the amount of time that you prepare for, management versus the amount of time you actually use these skills. We're talking about the E-Myth. It talks about this. Okay, you're a good locksmith, so you start a locksmith company. Okay, and so you do good locksmithing stuff, but at the point of scale, you realize that, I have to know humans way more than I have to know locksmithing.
Correct.
And if I just listen to what humans say, I'm going to be completely misled.
Yep. And so it's effectively the psychology of humans. That is one thing that I don't think that I was prepared at all. And I had to kind of step back and then go in and do research and learn and test practices.
Where did you do that? Or how did you do that? Or give me a tip and a trick.
Oh God!
Give me some help here, Chad.
Yeah, the first thing that really gave me the inclination was when I was having trouble with team members, like at a management level, and I was either losing people or frustrated with people's performance. Yeah, the book, the Entree Leadership, really talks a little bit about some of that in there. So it kind of gave me an understanding, kind of put me on a path of the Myers-Briggs and understanding personality assessments, then Enneagram, and then obviously culture index. But just all of that really kind of comes back into the psychology of humans. And and I would classify this as 2 parts. One, the psychology of employees, like interpersonal relationships. And second, the psychology of humans from a purchasing perspective. So customers. Understanding what drives people to make specific purchasing decisions. So that's really, those are 2 things that I think we've had to learn and grow that skill from entrepreneurship that I don't think I would have ever. And so from a piece of advice, right, to somebody that's trying to figure out how to grow a business.
Yeah.
That's that. If you can figure out the psychology of humans or be more versed in the psychology of humans.
When did you have that realization? How big was the organization? What role were you in? When is it important to get started thinking about that?
Yesterday.
So, yeah, immediately. I think for me, we were probably between 12 and 15 employees.
Yeah.
So this was, 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And it kind of opened up a conversation. I think there's several books that I could probably reference, but there were some challenges that myself and my business partner, Chris, had where we had trouble communicating or understanding what each other were saying.
Yeah.
And so it was like, why is this hurdle happening? And so we started diving into that. And that's where Myers-Briggs happened. I did a Myers-Briggs test and I was like, okay, this is interesting. This tells me a lot about me. Then I got him to take the Myers-Briggs test, understand how he was wired. Then we compared notes and we were like, oh, this is where we butt heads. This is how we work well together. And this is where we butt heads. And this is how we can kind of be aware of that and overcome that. Yeah. So that was huge.
Chris says words and means the words. Yeah. You are more focused on how it was said, the emotion was said, what was going on around it in the context. And I know that from meeting both of you because we had similar situations.
Sure.
I had one of my business partners was very specific on words, and the words are what, he said what he meant. And, I was more about, well, how did they say it?
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. And I know you don't want to make this a plug for Culture Index, but I do think that that's one thing that was really helpful for us is really, and it's not just Culture Index, any sort of personality test. I was just talking about this at lunch yesterday with somebody. He actually said the same thing. He's like, oh, my wife used to come home from work and talk about the personality stuff they were doing at work. And I kind of rolled my eyes and then we had it on herself. Yep. And I was like, wow, this is actually spot on. Like someone came in and gave me their support and I couldn't believe it. It was like they were reading my, fortune. But it is like, I think there's two things there that are really helpful. One, just picking one and sticking with it. They all test relatively the same thing. They're the same big 5 personality traits. We've talked about that on previous podcasts, but having something to just help understand your people and help your people understand you is super beneficial. But then 2, getting like actually invested in it and having somebody that is almost a coach for it. I think that's one of the things that was really helpful for us with Culture Index specifically is having a person train us on it. It actually made us more invested in it. And it wasn't just like hey, we did this and then we're going to just leave it here on the side. Yeah. It has been really helpful just to start to understand more what makes people tick. It is not putting them in a box. It is, and I think Culture Index or personality assessments gets kind of a bad stereotype for that. And it's not that it's putting them in a box. It's helping people understand each other and some of their idiosyncrasies. So figuring out a personality test that you like and using it to your benefit.
Using a tool.
It's a tool. Exactly.
Yeah. Yep. Find one and use a tool wherever you're at. Yeah. Some of them are more expensive than others. Myers-Briggs you can do for free online. Just, 18personalities.com, I think, is one of the
16, but
16, 18, whatever. Some personalities. It's a pretty cool tool.
And you mentioned that we used that and it didn't stick because there wasn't that implementer to make it stick. Right. So you have to put some time and investment into it, and it takes 6 to 12 months to see that return. And you have to stick with it. Ultimately, people are your largest asset. If you're not doing things to understand that asset, it's a lost investment.
Yeah. So I guess kind of in summary for that particular thing, that is a factor that if you want to grow a business and you want to be effective, that is something that you can you could have the best technology in the world. You can have the best technical knowledge in the world. But if you don't understand how to work with people, then you're going to be at a disadvantage. Yep. So, and to Tony's point, this isn't a Culture Index episode, but if you do want to know more about that, you can go back to episode 9. It's called Unlocking Team Potential with Culture Index. And we dive into that more in depth on how we apply it and how we utilize it in our organizations. But to Lars's point, there's so many tools out there that you can use right now. So don't let that stop you. It's just getting the understanding. And there's a lot of books around it as well that you can read to identify different personality characteristics and so forth. Is funny. So that's the employee side, right? On the customer side, I remember 7 years ago, maybe, I don't know. I probably shouldn't even talk about years at this point, but many years ago, I went to a class. I had gotten involved in this. I think it was a website called Meetups or something like that, where it was like different.
Oh boy. It's now called Tinder, but
no. It was like free classes that you could attend and basically connect with people. Oh, geez. And they had one for selling to different personality types. And I went because I was like, hey, that sounds interesting. And it was a free, 2-hour thing. Went and hung out, met 8 or 10 people, and it was just kind of a thing. And I took a lot of notes on it, came back, and it was cool because it like classified customers into like 4 to 6 categories or something like that. And they gave you these attributes that you could visually identify, like the type of car that they drove, the different ways that they carried themselves to understand how to speak to them. So picking up on those things, like realizing that somebody's very data driven and want to have a lot of information. Well, then when you're talking to them, you go to that and say, hey, here is all the facts and figures, understanding if they just are trying to purchase something because they want to have the coolest thing in the they want to have the coolest security system in the business park. Well, then you show them the bells and whistles and the cool things about the security system. They don't care about how many gigabytes that it is or how many the quality of the cameras. They just want to know what are the cool things that I can do. Okay. And so they had the kind of list of attributes and how to identify them and all that. And I still use it to this day whenever I interact with people, because it's just once you unlock it, then you go, okay, I see what's important to this individual. Now let me talk to them at their preference versus me trying to stick with the only way that I can communicate, right? So you're adapting your communication style. And so those two factors, right? Understanding the human psychology for employees, the people that you're working with, because from the hiring perspective, are they in the right position in the organization? And then on the customer side, is this somebody that just wants to bully? Like, is this a customer that just wants to bully me and get their way? Well, let me understand that part of that conversation versus are they really just in need of, they're stressed because they're trying to solve a problem in their own world.
Yeah, it's a good one.
So that's my tip.
All right.
And trick.
You said no tips.
That was.
Right. I got one. So I think one of the biggest surprises to me, or lessons, I don't know, whatever, is basically that you're ultimately the bottleneck to your company's growth. And I think that's two things. One, you have to learn to delegate. If you aren't delegating, coming into this business, I was like, I'm just going to figure out as much as I can and learn as much as I can and do as much as I can. Well, that's really not the best way to grow. I did that for about 2 or 3 years and we didn't really grow much, and we didn't start to grow until I learned how to effectively delegate. And I would argue that I haven't learned that yet, but I'm getting better. So really it's interesting how when you grow yourself and then delegate to others, how much opportunity that opens up. I think even every couple months I start to realize, like you think, oh, what am I going to do? What am I going to do if I'm not doing this? And you just find stuff, and that stuff leads you to more future planning and more future growth. And I think that's a thing that a lot of people don't realize, and also something I didn't realize right away, that ultimately you're the bottleneck to your company's growth. And until you start learning and delegating, your company's not going to grow. And it took me a couple of years to realize that.
Yeah. And I would say you have gotten significantly better at it, Tony, because 3 years ago, we would not have been able to record this podcast.
Yeah.
Because you would be having 13 Teams conversations.
I think what Chad is getting at is you're welcome.
Yeah.
From who?
No, that is actually, I do actually have a pretty vivid memory of going to MSC advisory board meeting in Phoenix and like being constantly on my email and like talking to customers and on the phone. And I'm like, why is Chad not doing anything? Like he's actually engaged in this conversation. Like what his business is surviving without him.
It's the flip side. It's, when have you seen Chad actually doing something?
Well, true. Yes. But it is interesting. Like even more recently, I've tried to start doing more things related to like the future planning of our business. And it's like, you don't realize how many other things you can do as a leader to grow your company when you're focused on the day to day. And ultimately, if you're in the day to day, you're blocking your company's growth. You can't do both things. You can't be an integral part of your operations and also focused on growth. If you want to grow your business, you have to delegate your operations and focus on growth.
And I wouldn't use the word delegate. I think I mean the same thing, but I would echo that. And we have it's amazing how quickly time passes. It's all of a sudden it's been 10 years, and some of our best and brightest are people that have that you work with closest. Right. And when every moment you spend doing a task or working on an operational day-to-day thing, and you're not with someone else teaching them, showing them, thinking out loud, it's an opportunity lost. And it really rears its head when you get to like 10 years down the road. If you have some of those people that you've worked with continuously, you realize like, hey, I don't really need to be here because they've learned how to do this.
Right.
And it's, it becomes more apparent. You don't realize it's happening in the moment, but then you look back on it and you're like, oh, actually these guys and these gals are pretty good at it. Right. Because they've learned. So,
yeah. And to me, it's a two-part thing too. You're the reason I specifically said you're the bottleneck, because if you're not delegating, but also if you're not learning and you're not improving yourself, like you have to go out and better yourself. If you want to be a good business owner, you have to learn how to be a good business owner. And that doesn't just come, it can come through trial and error, but if you want to get there faster, you have to learn and advance your skill set.
And that's really easy to say in our position. We've got mature companies that are 10 or 15 years. If you're in a 1 or 2 person or a 3 person, 5 person company, right, you have to start planning for that. But you're going to still have to work in the business and in the day-to-day operations, but set time and prioritize improving yourself, because again, 10 years happens really quickly.
Yeah.
You mentioned the E-Myth couple minutes ago, and I started rereading that because we've talked about it so much. And there was an interesting part in there that talked about how a lot of times technical people are focused on the present. Management is focused on the past, what happened and how do we make it better, where entrepreneurs need to be focused on the future. What does the future look like, and how do we get there? And if you're focused on the present of the day-to-day operations, you don't have time, or you're not in the right headspace to think about what does that future look like. So I thought that was an interesting section, and kind of ties back to that of you really need to step back, figure out what you need to learn it, and delegate the stuff that you're currently doing to allow you to do that. Yeah.
Chad is pondering. He's stroking his beard and pondering. God.
There's a lot to that. And from a bottleneck perspective, absolutely true. I think one of the conversations that I had with a guy maybe a couple of years ago, because he was kind of sharing a similar thing where he was struggling to implement a new process in his business because he couldn't quite get his hands wrapped around it. And we broke down the conversation a little bit, and at the end of it, like, we walked away as a collective group. This was just part of a peer group that I was in. As a collective group, the thing that he came away with from his learnings is he was robbing his team of the experience to learn.
Yep.
And that I kind of jotted that down, and I've stuck that with me. We pull it up from time to time. Is if I'm the one that's solving every problem, and maybe I'm really good at it, or maybe I enjoy coming in and solving every problem, and that's wonderful. At a point, are you limiting the growth of your company because you're the only one that can solve the problem? And I think the terminology was very impactful, because it was, I'm robbing my employees or robbing my team from an opportunity to learn.
Yep.
And so if I'm the one that is learning it, and because maybe there's going to be failure involved, or it could be risky or whatever, then whenever I go teach my team about it, then they don't have that same scar tissue because they learned it the hard way. So how do you create those guardrails, those barriers so they do that? And then the other element is that my coach, Kurt Graves, mentioned to me probably 9 months ago. He's like, Chad, you have to realize that your job now is to learn. Like that your job is not to be in and running the business every day. Your job is to learn. Is that future advancements in the trade, in the technology that we're using, and the products or whatever? Is it business practices? Is it financial acumen? Is it, like we were talking about, the psychology of humans? Is it the learning how to teach? Like your job is now a bit different than it may have been previously, being the knowledge base of products or how you do things. And that stuck with me a lot as well, because it's a next evolution of kind of personal development, personal growth is kind of getting to that point. I think the big question I would come back to is how, because Lars, you mentioned it, right? You're still working in the day to day. If you're a business owner still working in the day to day, how do you separate? How do you identify these are the barriers that I'm going to put up because I still do have to work in the business, so that I can start to make that transition? Because that's the hardest part.
I think we have a whole podcast on that.
We do?
Yeah.
Tony, are you going to refer to integrator or visionary?
No, I think maybe that might have been it.
Yeah,
actually.
Well, the messy middle, I don't want to.
I thought we had one about like getting out of the day to day, but maybe not. Maybe.
Technician to CEO.
Yeah,
episode 14. Yeah, that's possible. Yeah, so identifying that, but I think that's probably the hard part around that is being disciplined enough to know these are the limiting factors that I'm going to get myself involved with, and this is how I'm going to allow other people to take over that responsibility. Yeah,
I sat with Matt, my business partner, yesterday, and we were having a chat about it, and it was a symptom, and it just kind of came out of my mouth that if you're sitting in a situation right now with your business and you feel that all decisions and all advancements and all improvements in the business come from you, it is, and our reaction, well, that's what's going on, and we need more out of our leadership team. That is a symptom of your leadership, where it's you are that person that gives all the answers. And that would be probably a moment to stop and look in the mirror and say, okay, so how am I giving them opportunity to learn? When they come to me and say, pass me this, how do I do this? Are you saying, here it is, here's the answer, and then they go away? Because all you're doing is training them that every time they need something, they can come. So that was something that we just like dawned on yesterday. Like, oh boy, we've got a bunch of people that come to us for answers. How are we handling those opportunities?
Well, I think my question on that, because I totally agree with you. The question though is, how do you is there a fine line? Because it Turn the Ship Around really has some of that functionality into it, but it's in that uncomfortable area where you are the decision maker, you are the problem solver, and you don't flip the switch immediately and just say, nope, not fixing that. It's your problem. You go solve it, and then leave people in this kind of disaster zone. What is the conversion where you say, okay, I am going to let's figure this out together. How do you walk them through? And I think that's the discipline element, where it is painful and it's obnoxious, and especially if you're a fast-paced individual, low patience, just want to keep things moving. Oftentimes you'll hear somebody say, I can do it faster myself. And so it's, how do you create the discipline to say, let's learn this together, so that now you have that experience and that exposure, but I'm also not just hanging you out to dry, and then you come back with even more of a disaster that I'm going to have to fix. Right.
Well, yeah. And I guess that's that's the ticket there. I am not suggesting take it from someone that does that lots. And the E-Myth is another book, pop the third time here for reference, but it's go figure it out yourself.
Mm-hmm.
They go figure it out, and then you circle back, and 6 months down the road, they're going completely the wrong direction. And then you get mad at them. What the heck? How did you do that? Right? You're fired. You're out of here. I could do it myself again.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So the balance, and what I've found is, and exactly what you're describing, Chad, is, the first time is talking through it, but asking lots of questions, explaining some rationale, using terms like, in my experience, and sharing some experiences that they can draw on.
Mm-hmm.
But taking that approach and then having them, give them some time to think about it and say, oh, hey man, let's regroup tomorrow, or let's regroup in a couple hours and figure out where we're at.
Mm-hmm.
Because, it's just like, it's the entrepreneurial method is you just quickly iterate and change and, check back in first, especially when you're first working with someone, is, give them some time, course correct, and the quicker the better.
Yep.
And then as you get more aligned and they get more experience, then you can give them a little more leash, but continually check in.
Yep. So I don't want to classify this as a tip. I'm just going to
tip number 2 from Chad Lingefeld.
I'm just going to classify this as an experience, past experience.
Uh-huh. But trigger words for Chad: tip and value. Writing those ones down.
No, I just think we've done like 16 episodes with tips and tricks recently.
I know.
Anyway.
I'd hate people to listen to this and try and get some tips.
Oh God. Anyway, so what I was saying is a discipline that I had to implement when I was in the conversion phase there of handing off those responsibilities was, okay, I'm not sure what the answer is. This is like, I was trying to think of an example. I can't think of one, but somebody would bring a question to me of how do we do this? I'm not sure what the answer is, but what I would like to do is, can you go do the research? I'm going to go ahead and put a calendar appointment. I'm going to put a meeting on the calendar for 3 days from now or a week from now, or whatever, so that I don't forget about it. Because moment you walk out here, I'm probably going to forget about it. So in a week from now, I'll go ahead and put the calendar invitation on there, and let's sit down and bring me back whatever information that you found, and maybe a suggestion on how you think it should be solved.
Tell me what you intend on doing.
Yep. Now when they bring it back, now we can sit down and go, okay, cool. Yeah. And they're going to give me this information. And then at that point, I might be able to say, from past experience, or, based off of this other relationship that I have, we can probably bring this in, or maybe you should go check this out, or whatever. But it was effectively, and this is from a discipline standpoint from my end, because I'm terrible at the follow-up and remembering things, is at that point of conversation, put an appointment on the calendar so that it forced the response to that.
Yeah, I've referenced Buy Back Your Time before, and that author Dan Martell talks about his 1-3-1 rule of what's the one challenge you're having, what are the 3 possible solutions, and what's your one recommendation. Like, come to me already having done your research, looked through your ideas. I can give you feedback on your ideas, but I want you to come up with 3 ideas first, and then help problem solve from there.
I think Nathan, who's our Charlotte branch manager now, when I first hired him, I think that was around the time when I was reading Turn the Ship Around. And so he was the guinea pig in a lot of that experience. And so he would bring in there's two things that I've tried in the past and they've worked, is one, he would come in and say, hey, here's an issue that we have. What do you want me to do about it? And I had to discipline myself. I think I even had a note on my desk at that point that said, like, what do you think we should do? Or what do you suggest? And then he would give that, and we would talk back and forth. I'd say, well, based off of this, maybe this. And then we would talk it through. And then it progressed to, he would come in my office and say, here's an issue. Here's what I think we should do. Do you agree or disagree? And then it even more progressed to, he would come to my office and I would be on a phone call or talking with somebody else, and he would turn around and leave. And then an hour later, he would come in and say, never mind, I already solved it.
This is what I did.
Yes, this is what I did.
Yeah.
And then the other one is Zach. When he was in kind of new entry into the sales role, we did a lot of sales activity together, and he would call me and want to ask me a question or ask for my opinion on something. And I got to the point where I would just ignore his phone call for like an hour And then I would call him back and say, hey, what's going on? And he would say, oh, never mind, I solved it. And it was effectively just kind of releasing a little bit of this reliance upon calling to get either approval or, maybe
the answer.
Answer. And I wouldn't say this about Zach specifically, but I have had people in the past that were actually calling because they wanted to have a scapegoat. So this is what I think I should do. What do you think? Sure. Yeah, do it. Okay. Well, now Chad is responsible because he's my scapegoat for the bad decision that I just made.
Yeah.
So identifying those two things that are not tips.
Yeah. Those are, that's another good tip from Chad Lingefeld.
Lars, what's your uncomfortable truth? Ooh, might regret asking that question.
So I have a handful.
I'm sure.
I didn't expect the first ones to take 40 minutes. But I've got a couple shorter ones. I'd say the first one, and I'm big on this right now, and I've mentioned it multiple times, and I climbed a mountain with Chad and his family and had the conversation with his daughter about this, actually, is that, people look, I use Chad as a reference. People see Chad's lifestyle, and we've made jokes about it that, he doesn't really do anything right now. He's not paying attention, but
I'm paying attention.
Oh, okay. I was expecting a reaction, but Chad's in a position that is pretty enviable. And the reminder and kind of the thing I was talking to his daughter about was, everyone looks at that and like, oh man, I wish I had this opportunity to be this visionary that, didn't have any day-to-day commitments. And, cause that's what people think. Whether that's true or not, it's a whole other thing. But, they don't appreciate and don't understand the effort that it took to get there. And so that was, for me, entrepreneurship, people see entrepreneurs and they're, business owners like, yeah, that's what I want to be, the owner. I want to have all this flexibility, all this money, everything's going to be great. It is so much more work than you could ever imagine. You don't become an entrepreneur and a business owner to work less. Sure, you will in 20 years, but you're going to work 70 hours a week when you don't want to, on Christmas, on holidays. You're going to have an ex-husband or an ex-wife a lot of the time. Okay. You might not have kids. You might not have family relationships. This is an uncomfortable truth. I'm not saying this is the only way, but it is very common that when you are in this lifestyle, it's, this is like the main part of life, and it's really hard. And they talk about, all the statistics about, half businesses are 90% fail or whatever it is. And yeah, people see the successful ones and like, yeah, that's what I want, but they don't respect, understand, or have any clue about how much effort it is.
Yeah. I think the way that you said it when we were climbing that mountain, that it was called something Mount Sulphur.
Sulphur Mountain in Banff. Yep.
Was people want the view from the top, but they don't want the climb.
Wow.
Yeah. And it was
very cliche there, Chad.
I'm pretty confident that's what Lars said.
People.
I'm just concerned for Katie
have.
that she was getting life advice from Lars. I can't believe that Chad allowed Katie to listen to Lars filibuster for a climb of a mountain and learn whatever.
That's a fair point. That was probably poor parenting by Chad.
Yes. Chad, good business owner.
Yes. So that's number one. Number two. Uncomfortable Truth, Tip and Trick by Chad Lingefeld. Number two, and now I feel bad because these are like both kind of negative things, but something I would suggest that you're not going to be prepared for. And this is another thing I've talked about recently. You will get to a point that you will find there's a lonely spot. And I'll explain that. It was, I saw something the other day that, it was I don't know, whatever you call them, a meme or a little thing.
Meme, yeah.
Sure. One of those, a reel
Mhm.
something. And it was like a picture of a guy, it said, the moment you realize that you have impact at your job and people listen to you, and, being the class clown or being the funny guy, no longer works. It's this picture, and he just has this like solemn look on his face, like, uh-oh. And, it was a few years ago, I noticed in our organization that I could no longer just, throw ideas out there and just kind of think and talk at the same time. Because, the example I would use would be like, I'd come in and be like, oh man, that blue looks great. I'd show up the next day and the walls would be painted blue. And I'm like, what's happened here? The vans, all right, we're getting new decals on the vans, decals on the vans because they're going to be bright blue. And it's like, what happened? It's like, well, you said you like blue. And it's like, so, and what happens without even really knowing it is I then took that. It's like, okay, I can't say that kind of stuff anymore. I can't do that. And so I just kind of like shut down and didn't talk about it with anyone. But then what happens is you stop communicating, you carry this, and then it impacts other areas of your life. And this is like a very common thing with entrepreneurs, that it's almost like an isolating feeling where you feel like you can't talk for various different reasons. But it has a serious impact on your life outside of it. So that was part of the conversation I was having with Matt yesterday is, I'm now starting to realize that I can't just kind of wing it, because when I'm winging it and I'm just thinking out loud and bouncing ideas off people, that carries a lot of weight in our organization.
Yeah.
So, and then it's just, eventually you shut down after that, and you gotta recognize that, because if you do shut down and you do stop having those conversations, it is going to have a negative impact on a whole bunch of areas that you don't realize.
Yeah.
So
the funny thing around that is like over time, I've found that I think that the team, the leadership team, has insulated, if that's the right term, me from
everyone,
because they're like, all right, we're going to have that conversation here because we need to protect it from leaking out, because people might take it as a directive versus a brainstorm, right? And that was something I learned several years ago about my personality type, was that I typically will brainstorm things out loud, just be like, same thing. Not necessarily blue, because I would not say that around this building, but like, hey, it'd be cool if we put a door over here, or I wonder what it would take to cut a hole in this wall. And then the wall would have a hole in it when I came back. And so what has happened, the practical thing that's happened now is, there's a small leadership group of like 5 people. And really for most of the things, like 3 people that I can brainstorm with, I can speak very candidly with, and they can give me good feedback, because they're not just yes men. They're not just people that are going to agree with every crazy idea that I have. But if we vet it out there and it might actually be functional, then they're the ones that can take it and implement it. And so what has happened is, at the size of our organization and the functionality of our organization now, is we can eliminate chaos by insulating those conversations to a few people. Once it's vetted out and can possibly be done, then it actually gets implemented at a higher level of accuracy, because there's a plan to get it done, versus me just, kind of
winging it. So winging it for a week. Yeah.
Yeah. So those are huge. I would agree with that. But again, it can become, especially so, and maybe this is a part of that uncomfortable truth that Lars is talking about. When you sit in the seat, and there's a lot of things that I can see from like tangible or visual things. So I think back through I'm trying to bear with me here, because I know I'm going to jump around a little bit. I feel like when you walk into a business and you see where the owner's office is, or the size of the owner's office, is probably a direct representation on how impactful they are on the day-to-day operations. Okay. So and I say that because previously I had a fairly large office in the center of our space. And so it was like the nucleus, and there were a lot of conversations coming in and out of that because I was involved in them all the time. And so therefore it was easier for me to leak out brainstorming ideas that maybe should have been vetted a little more thoroughly before they got there. And then over time, my office size started to shrink and started to get pushed to the outer edges and kind of hidden
where you belong.
Where it belong, to where now I don't have an office in our office building because that's not part of my responsibility. I don't need people to come in and visit with me and go through that process or have meetings inside my office. And so I guess the point of that is if you go into a business, so that's kind of that perk test, right? It becomes pretty aware who is functionally running the organization. And if it's the owner, then they probably do have a limiting factor, going back to what Tony was saying from a bottleneck perspective. But where I was going with all of that, and that's why I said, well, bear with me because I'm going to jump around a little bit. Once you start to get pushed to the outer edge and you were the nucleus previously, everyone was coming to you for an answer, a solution or whatever, and you were solving those problems, you get dopamine hits from that. That's exciting. Now you're pushed to the outer edge and it becomes isolating and lonely because you're not needed as much. You're not the guy solving the problems as much. And so you're like, oh, well, this is a different feeling. And so that's like this, this structure of, or I guess this timeline of a small business where there's an owner involved in everything, hands-on everything, working 60 to 100 hours a week. Then things start to grow, things start to scale. Then you've got more people that are relying on you and you're even more busy and you've got all kinds of stuff going on. And then you start to get a little bit of reprieve because you don't have to be involved in everything. And then you move to the outer edge where, again, we joke about it. I don't have to do a lot of things on a day-to-day basis, but also I don't have to do a lot of things on a day-to-day basis. So I'm not required for certain elements that I was before, and then you sit there and go, oh, well, I'm just kind of here by myself. And so it does actually increase some of that loneliness factor down the line at various stages. So loneliness from an entrepreneurial perspective can live in a lot of different ways. One, feeling like you're the only one that can do everything and everybody relying on you and you can't talk to anybody about the hardships. And then as you move along, then you become more isolated in different ways because you have to create a new tribe, right, of people that are like-minded so that you can talk through those things.
Right.
Did I lose you?
No, I mean, all 26 of your tangents really came back together there. Yeah, and it's one of those moments where, you know, you look back at it and it's a good thing. As you hit that periphery, you're not in that. That means the business is growing, and you've truly got a business and not just a hobby. You know, you're not the business. Yeah, right. You don't just have a job. So
I think it's interesting though. I don't see you. Maybe you're just not transparent, but I don't see either of you or myself as describing ourselves as lonely.
I went through that stage. I definitely did, where I felt I couldn't talk about it. I couldn't talk about anything without having impact. And, you know, I think it's part of my personality and how I am. But I recognize that. And I've found other outlets. And I think that's kind of what Chad just alluded to is, you know, when you hit that point in your career and that level of maturity in your career, it's finding your new community. And that's really, you know, what we are to each other. Right. We have business groups, we have entrepreneurship groups. I know Chad's in Vistage. I'm with the pigs. Tony, you're going to take
Tony's
2 or 3 years.
Vistage now.
He's going to be 2 or 3 years to decide what he's going to do.
No, took no time.
No time at all.
No time at all.
No time at all. But
literally took zero time.
Maybe you didn't pick up on that. That was a joke.
False joke.
So
it's just like making up fiction.
Oh, okay. Speaking of fiction, Tony, do you have a tip or a trick here?
Yes.
Something you want to add for Chad's
nonfiction.
Lingefeld's tip and trick?
So I don't know if it's uncomfortable, but definitely a truth. why and who are far more important than how and what. So I think a lot of times,
let me write that down.
Why and who are far more important than how and what. A lot of times people are focused on what they're doing, the products they're delivering, the strategy of how they're going to get it to the customer. When in reality, as a business owner, you need to be focused on, why are you doing what you're doing? Have a purpose, because if you don't have a purpose, then you're just going to be sad. But also focus on who you're doing it with. That's really when you start to elevate. If you're continually focused on strategy, you're going to burn out. You're going to be too much in the day to day. But you need to really focus on who you're working with. I know there's a good book out there, Who Not How, but I kind of adapted that saying because I think you also need to have a good purpose around what your vision is, figure out where you're going and figure out your vision, figure out where you're going and figure out the people that are going to help you get there and then let them get out of their way, essentially. So it kind of ties back to my first tip, but a little bit different, just on focusing on getting the right people around you. You'll get a lot further, a lot faster with the right people than you will trying to just focus.
What type of person are you trying to surround yourself with, Tom?
People that can make decisions and people that can get my ideas done.
Yeah.
So
how about you, Chad?
The who, not how functionality is what you're talking about?
No. The same question I asked Tony 10 seconds before.
So to answer your question again,
with?
Also people that have skills that I don't have. So figuring out what you're good at and surround yourself with people that have experience, have skills. So one of our key employees, he's an expert technician. He has now grown to manage most of our operations. He is really good technically with the technicalities of what we do, the installations, the servicing. And that is very important because I don't have that skill set. So surrounding yourself with people that have skills that you don't have and also have experiences that you don't have. So they can help you elevate yourself.
So, might be a good time to hit pause and think about this yourself and do a little self-reflection. What are your strengths, or what do you enjoy doing?
Right.
What is the organization missing for you to scale up to that next level, or for your company to grow? Who do you have around you? What are they, and what do they bring into the table? Yeah.
I know Steve Jobs is famous for saying, hire smart people and get out of their way. I also listen to a podcast quite frequently, the home service expert, and he talks about continually, you want to be the dumbest person in the room. Hire people smarter than you and learn from them. If you're hiring people that are not, then you're back to, again, you're the bottleneck. So focus on why you're doing what you're doing. And as a leader, it's not as much about the strategy and the products. It's the vision and the people.
Yeah, that book that you're talking about, The Who Not How, is actually fantastic. It's written by Dan Sullivan and Benjamin Hardy. There's another book. They've got a series that they've done together. 10X is easier than 2X, and the gap and the gain. The book 10X is easier than 2X was significantly impactful. And I think I wish I would have read it 4 years ago, but I just read it probably within the last 18 months. And there's a lot of truths in there that it's a summary, what Lars just said. Self-evaluation. What are the things I enjoy? What are the things I'm good at? How do I lean into those, double down on those, and identify the things that are struggles and challenges for me that are holding me back from growth? And how can I find the who that can solve that problem? And that's really the kind of summary of that book, Who Not How, is instead of me as the entrepreneur trying to figure out how to solve a problem, I need to figure out who can solve it for me and how can they get on my team, right? And that's really the summarization of it. Leaning back to a lot of the other things that we talked about of understanding the psychology of humans. If you once you figure that out, then you're going to start identifying, hey, this is a weakness of mine because I'm self-aware, and now I can find those who's that can help me get to this next stage. And it is significantly more, what's the word I'm looking for? Satisfying to get to that end result or to get to that next stage with others instead of by yourself.
Well, you can get there a lot faster.
Yeah.
Cool. All right.
Good tip, Chad. I like that one. Do we have any other rapid fire ones we want to throw out here uncomfortable truths about entrepreneurship? Because I know we are getting to the end of our leash here.
The one I was going to tag in there was financial sacrifice. I don't think nobody really knows going into a entrepreneurial adventure how much financial sacrifice you're going to have before you start to see success. And so be prepared for that, because it could be longer than let's just say most likely it's going to be longer than you expect. And then when it happens, making sure that you're disciplined so that you don't run out of it before you get it. Money wise is what I was talking about.
Another quick one, as you grow and scale, the importance of communication is only like magnified. You have to be a good communicator. You have to be effective at communicating to a lot of people, because when you have 10 employees, it's easy to communicate to all of them. When you have 50 or 75 or 100, that importance of communication is magnified.
Yeah, that's... I know that was a podcast we talked about earlier, but do you put the structure in place before you grow, or do you grow and then put the structure in place? Right. And that's kind of the same idea as building those habits early. That's certainly that'd be a tip, I think. It's that's interesting, because looking back on it, it's like, I wish we had a little more structure than we do. But I also know that, I'm not exactly full of structure here. Full of a lot of stuff, just not structure.
You're quite aware today. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Like, you're saying a lot of profound stuff about your faults. I'm amazed.
That's kind of a compliment coming from Tony.
It must be the blue shirt.
Yeah, probably the blue shirt
and the mullet,
fresh hair. So just a quick recap.
Okay.
People want the view, not the climb. You are the bottleneck of your organization. Understand the psychology of humans. It can be very lonely and isolating. Effective communication is magnified as you grow. Financial sacrifice can be intense, and why and who is greater than how and what. And Lars is going to.
I think that's 8 tips,
the top 8
and tricks.
Oh, that's pretty, Lars, you've got the next topic for us. I'll give you a few seconds to think about that. And you can't just say it's going to be a surprise whenever people show up next time. So Lars is going to bring us the next topic. I think that was a pretty good list of things and a really good rundown of a podcast without having an agenda.
That was...
that's basically like all other 44 episodes that we've recorded.
So Chad just said that I got to get my stuff together and get prepared here, and then complimented himself for being completely
unprepared.
Yes.
But you know what? I actually, as usual, although I don't think we got an email from Uncle Glenn this week, did we?
Ooh,
somebody should check in on it.
Okay.
Glenn, come on. But we have had, it's pretty cool. I got a message this morning from somebody that was, said something along the lines of, your audience would like, and I thought, audience?
You mean just you?
Yeah. I was like, well, that's hilarious. I think there's an audience, but, I just wanted to say again, thanks for the messages that were coming in. We got a couple emails, have different people reach out and say, hey, we listened to that one. A couple references to the visionary and integrator one. A lot of book references. I don't realize how often we refer to books.
Oh, yes.
But I've had a lot of people asking about various different books, and
we should put a blog post on our website around book recommendations.
Yes, that would be.
We do have a blog. You did a podcast.
You're confusing the world, Tone.
Well, every podcast we turn into a blog.
Yeah, well, I'm saying we should do a specific blog post, like a pinned blog post on book recommendations.
Okay. Blogcast? No.
Anyways, with our links to our Amazon referrals.
Referral, yeah, we get like 6 cents per book.
Yeah, I mean, it's
pretty good. That's 2 cents each, and it's American Boys. I make lots. Okay, working title here, but so I think just gonna tail on. We talked about the E-Myth a few times, but this was, by request, something that I know you're both going to roll your eyes at. But there is a glass ceiling I'm going to say a glass ceiling and building your security business. And it usually happens between $2.5 and $3 million. And what that means is you've probably got about 15 staff. You've got about 7 or 8 technicians. You're probably, the company started.
You're probably scared to death.
You're probably, you're grinding, you're working more, but getting less.
Payroll's crazy.
Payroll is, going to be, you're probably getting between $500,000, $1 million bucks. But you're kind of stuck. And you're stuck at that. How do we, you hire someone and then they don't work out and they leave, or you hire a manager and you probably don't have mid-level management. You might have one person that's kind of like the right hand. But it's a very common situation in entrepreneurship, and I'm trying not to spoil it because I already have 1,000 things I want to talk about in that area. But whatever you want to call that title, it's the $3 million
glass
breaking
ceiling.
through there we go.
The $3 million glass ceiling.
I like it.
Sure,
It's just simple.
Yeah, and it's tips and tricks too.
Oh God,
by Chad Lingefeld.
I love it.
I'm excited for that. I'm excited for that because I think there's a lot of people that are in that situation.
Good topic. You're on a roll today, Lars. Well done. It's about time.
I'm telling you, it's the blue shirt, guys.
It is. I like it. You did a great job today.
Yeah, it's I think Chad. I know I got to go to a golf tournament today. Just want to point out, 2-time defending champion in this tournament. So I also happen to be playing with 3 very good players, which does help.
Yep.
I know,
Again,
Chad,
he's giving others credit. It's amazing.
Chad, you were just in Denver with our good buddy Ed, and played some golf there. Hopefully that was a good experience for you. But I wanted to give a shout out to Ed because I know he did invite us, and that would have been really cool. Just bad time. But
you missed out. We'll just say you missed out.
Lions and
guys,
tigers and bear.
Thank you very much for joining us again today. The Unlocked Podcast is the title of this. It's not the website, so it's unlockedpodcast.com. We have a blog there for every episode, and you can subscribe on all the major platforms for podcasting, as well as our YouTube channel. You can see the video version of this if you would like to.
I would like some feedback on the hair. So if you can go onto YouTube and just
comment on
have
Lars'
a look at
hair.
What's happening here. I don't know, guys. This is
All right. So we'll conclude on that. Next episode, the $3 million glass ceiling. That actually sounds like a great topic, and no eye rolls there. So it should be fun. We will see you next Thursday, because that's when this thing comes out, every Thursday morning at around 6:30 Eastern time.